Hi, the Mudbrooker here. I really like Little Caesar's cheese bread. Problem is, the nearest Little Caesar's is about 50 miles away. So, through much trial and error and experimentation, I have come up with a pretty close approximation that you can make at home, and I'm going to share that with you today. As always, the most important ingredient of any recipe is alcohol, and this evening I'm going to enjoy some brandy. If I can get it open. Alright, let's begin. First, we're going to have to make the dough. And that will require 2 teaspoons of instant yeast, 2 teaspoons of sugar, come on, 2 teaspoons of sugar, and 1 cup of warm water. Like I did in my last bread making video, I always proof my yeast. That is, add the sugar and water and let it work for about 5 minutes before I start. I'll give that a little stir to dissolve the sugar and the yeast, and I'll be back in about 5 minutes. Okay, I've got my yeast working, so now we'll add the rest of the ingredients. You need 2 teaspoons of olive oil, a teaspoon of salt, 1½ cups of all-purpose flour, and 1 cup of cake flour. The flour is important. The difference between bread flour, all-purpose flour, and cake flour is the gluten level. Bread flour has the most gluten in it. It makes for a nice elastic dough, which really traps the carbon dioxide from the yeast so it rises nice, and it gives it a lot of body. All-purpose flour is in the middle. Cake flour has a very low gluten content, and I came up with this mix because I tried making this with just bread flour or all-purpose flour, and both times, rather than getting a nice crispy bottom, even though it was browned, it was too hard for my taste. So I came up with this mixture, 1½ cup all-purpose and 1 cup of cake flour. Put that in, put the dough hook on, and we will let this knead for about 5 or 6 minutes. Okay, this has been kneading for about 5 or 6 minutes, and it makes a very soft, sticky dough. So what I'm going to do is leave this right in the pan for a minute before I deal with it. Get my mixer out of the way. And now we'll get the pan ready for it. I am using a 12-inch cast iron skillet. You could use a cake pan as long as it's a good deep one. Something 10 by 15 or so, probably big enough. Or 2 8-inch square pans. Take your cast iron frying pan, add 1/3 cup of olive oil, get her all in there, smoosh that around a little bit so it covers everything, and before you grab the dough, get a little bit of oil on your hands. Like I said, this is a pretty sticky dough, and we'll knead her out a little bit and form it into a roughly round shape and flatten it out. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then simply lay it in the pan. You don't have to stretch it all the way out to the sides yet, because we're going to cover this and let it rise for about 45 minutes right in the pan. You could cover this with a towel or plastic wrap, or in this case, an even bigger cast iron frying pan. I'll be back in about 45 minutes. Okay, I'm back. And, as you can see, our dough has risen quite nicely. What you do now is kind of punch it down a little bit. Not really punch it down, just pat it down and stretch it out until it reaches the sides of the pan. Don't worry if you get a little oil on top of it. That's not going to hurt anything. A little thin spot there. And it'll probably want to try and pull back in some, but that's okay too. Just keep working on it. And eventually you'll get it out to the edges of your pan. Now, wipe my fingers off a little. Give it a good sprinkling of garlic powder. Little Caesar's cheese bread is basically a deep dish pizza without the sauce. If you want to make a pizza out of this, just put some sauce on at this point and put your favorite pizza toppings on. But since we're not doing that, we're making cheese bread. Some garlic powder, shredded mozzarella, a good application of that. Get a good covering. And try and get some out all the way onto the edge, because that will brown up nice when we bake it. And you get a nice crispy, crunchy brown cheese edge. Probably could use a little bit more cheese, but that'll be okay. And I'm going to use some pepperoni on this. Cut that one too thick. I'm just going to have to eat that. And that should be enough pepperoni. We'll cover this back up, let it rise for 15 minutes. While I'm doing that, I'm going to preheat my oven to 500 degrees. That's 500 degrees Fahrenheit for those of you who have been conned into using that other means of measuring things. So, 15 minutes and I'll be back. Okay, this rolls for 15 minutes, and if you're using a cake pan for this, you can go ahead and put it in the oven now. But if you're using cast iron like I am, it really makes a big difference if you heat up the pan first before you put it in the oven. It'll brown a lot more evenly on the bottom. So I will turn this on to medium heat and get the pan warmed up good before we put it in the oven. This will take 3 or 4 minutes, and I'll be back and show you what it looks like right before I put it in. Okay, we're not trying to actually fry the crust, but it's puffed up a little bit. It's been about 5 minutes on the heat, and if I can catch some, once in a while I'll see a couple little tiny bubbles and a little bit of a wisp of steam coming off the edge. That means we're ready to put it in the oven. So, open my oven, and in we go. 500 degrees for 15 minutes. Keep an eye on it. You don't want this to burn. And it will burn fast because it's 500 degree oven. I'll see you in 15 minutes. I've taken this out of the oven and let it cool for a couple of minutes until it quit sizzling more or less. And I went around the outside of the pan with my tongs to make sure that it's loose all the way around. And now I'm going to take it out of the pan. Tip the pan a little bit, grab the edge with the tongs, and just slide it on out. Now, a trick I've learned over the years with pepperoni is you get all that grease on the top when you first take it off. Take a little paper towel and just blot that grease off of there. You can see how much you get. If you're prone to heartburn, that seems to really help quite a bit to get some of that grease off your pepperoni. Alright, now, try to move around here. Camera and lights are in kind of an awkward position. All you gotta do now, before I did this, I covered my counter with a couple layers of paper towel, and we'll give this a slice, and we'll see what we got. You can hear how crunchy that is. And if everything has gone right, the bottom will be nicely browned, and you can hear how crunchy that is. It should be a real nice, tender, sort of crusty bread, and the bottom should be crispy and crunchy, but not hard. Yeah, it's just perfect. And there it is, a homemade version of Little Caesar's cheese bread. Or if you put a little sauce on this and your favorite toppings, you have one hell of a deep dish pizza. Thank you much for watching.